All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you have enjoyed my Ecuador series, those 6 parts broken up. And yeah, a really hard editing task there. I kind of tell everyone that, when you're trying to go through something this massive, it's sort of like picking up puzzle pieces and trying to put them together to make it all work as a story. So I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that I did a decent job in telling the story of doing a birding tour in Ecuador. So in this video, we're going to do a little bit behind the scenes. It's going to be a long video, so grab a cup of coffee or get something to drink. And also, I will chapter out all of the things that I'm going over in this video, so you can skip around to whatever you want. So yeah, this is going to be sort of a logistics review of the trip. Like, I've had a lot of people ask me, like, oh, well, what company did you use? How much did it cost? Were the lodges good? Stuff like that. So I will go over all of that in this video. I'm assuming this the viewership on this video will probably be 50-50 split between my regulars who come by and just check all my videos out. So hello. And also probably the other 50% are people that are probably researching whether they should go to Ecuador on a birding trip. And I'll just give a little spoiler here. If you couldn't tell, yeah, you should probably do that. So anyways, this is the video. Also, I just wanted to note that we recently hit 1,000 subscribers. I sort of teased a giveaway at the end of part 6, and I am going to do a giveaway of some prints from this trip. I am going to put that in a separate video that I will post later this week with how you guys can enter the giveaway to get some free prints from Ecuador that I shot. So look for that coming up here in a couple of days. I'm also going to have some prints that I'm going to make available for sale if you're interested in that too. So that video will be out here in a couple of days. But anyway, here is my sort of behind the scenes video and review, and some funny stories in there too. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy, and yeah, let's just get right into it. Right off the bat, important stuff. What company did you use? So I used this company here, Partnership for International Birding. I did not do a ton of research on other companies, so I can't really provide you a lot of feedback there. But the reason why I did use PIB here is because it was recommended to me by so many people that I know in just birding groups online, birding groups in person. Every person I've talked to said, yeah, use PIB. I've used them for 6 trips and it's always been flawless. So when I hear that kind of feedback from that many people and it's all good, that's good enough for me. So, so yeah, I specifically went on, if you go to South America and we go down to Ecuador, I did, yeah, this one right here, this Northwest Ecuador and East Slope. And yeah, it was this actual trip right here, January 18th to 27th. So that was it. You see here, the price here is $3,090. That is almost correct. That's not fully correct. So we had a premium guide in Lilice Navarrete, and so that bumped up the cost a little bit. So what I paid up front was $3,290 for the tour, and that gets you the 10 days 9 nights, and that is all just in the central part of Ecuador, the highlands. So that's all the Andes mountain stuff and the eastern slope and western slope. So I did not go anywhere else in Ecuador. I did not go to the Galapagos Islands. I did not go out to that coast on the west. I did not go to southern Ecuador, and also to the east. There was an extension for the Amazon that everyone else on the tour did except me, and that is this one right here, this extension, the Amazon Rio Napo thing. I did not do that. But if you did want to do that, that's another 2,000 bucks, and that gets you another 6 days, 5 nights. I had to come back to, go to work so I could not be gone that long. Yeah, so but I was the only one in the whole group that didn't do that extension. So, anyways, $3,290 was the upfront initial cost. I am a single guy, so I am not traveling with family or a wife or a girlfriend or whatever. So I had to pay an extra $480 because I was getting my own room every night. So that is a single supplement. So I had to pay another $480. Also, there's another cost. They recommend not showing up on the day of the tour. They recommend actually getting in a day early. That way you are giving yourself a little bit of a buffer in case flights get canceled or there's some sort of problem. It just gives you a little bit of cushion to account for that kind of stuff. I was flying out of Denver, Colorado in the middle of January. I felt like, well, when I booked my flight, 4 months in advance, I thought, yeah, I could see a blizzard happening in January in Denver, Colorado. So I did do the extra or the early flight. So I got in that day early. So that cost me another night hotel stay in Quito, which was another $128. So in total for the tour, cost, single supplement, early day arrival, it was $3,894 total for me to partnership for international birding. That does not include your flight. So my flight from Denver to Houston and then to Quito was $487. Pretty good. Except for that's economy back of the bus. I'm 6'1". I've got a horrible knee. I like a little bit of extra legroom on long flights. So I did bump up to economy plus. That added another $289 onto my flight. So my total flight was $776. I also have, you can't see him right now, I also have a dog that I needed to put in the kennel for 10 days. At $80 a day after taxes, that was about $900. So again, you may not have that cost, but I did. So I just wanted to give you a grand total for me. How much was I in here? What was I all in for? So I calculated it out. Actually, nope, we're not done yet with costs. See, I'm glad I looked at my note. We also had you typically tip the guide, the driver, and of course all of the people that are working at the various hotels and lodges that you stay at. So I was out about another $250 for tipping. So my grand total for me, all in, as a single supplement and a dog in a kennel for 10 days and with the guided tour with the premium guide. So my grand total all in was $5,820. So there you go. That was the cost to me. And again, your cost may vary based on whether you need a single supplement, whether you feel like you want to upgrade your flight for Economy Plus, and whether you have a dog going to a kennel or not. But all things to consider. So yeah, when you see that $3,000 price on the website, just know there's a bunch of other stuff that's going to come on top of that. So anyways, timing wise, so like how far in advance did you kind of get the ball rolling on this stuff? And yeah, I inquired, and my first inquiry was about 6 months in advance. And that I think that's like sort of that's like the minimum I would wait. You would probably be wise to inquire about one of these, maybe even a little bit before that. Because once I inquired, they basically got back to me and they said, yep, we do have space for that. There's a couple of spaces left. So 6 spaces out of the 8 were already taken up, 6 months in advance. So I was able to get in. And then it was about 5 months out from the trip starting where they emailed me and asked for the first deposit to kind of lock yourself in. So yeah, it was about 5 months in advance when you send your first sort of deposit. And then about 3 weeks later, we got the confirmation that's like, okay, yep, everyone has paid a deposit. We are locked in. We have enough people to make this tour happen. So yeah, congratulations. This is happening. So and then it was pretty shortly after that. It was about 4 months in advance of the trip where they asked us to book flights. So yeah, so you've got plenty of time before the trip to actually look for flights. And again, they tell you like, hey, these are the days that are locked in now. And again, that's when they told me that you may want to get in like a day early to just give yourself a little bit of buffer in case there's travel problems, which fortunately I did not have a single one. I was as easy as it could get for me. But then, yeah, and then as you get closer and closer, they'll send you all of the stuff you'll need. Eventually, I got this. This was a full binder of all of the checklists and all of the rundown of everything that we were going to be doing on the trip, the full itinerary, all the checklists of all the species of birds we could see. So that was really cool to have, kind of old school binder, but it was nice to actually have something physical to like look back on at some point and be like, oh yeah, I remember this trip. Yeah, and then they will also send you like everything like, oh, do you need vaccinations to go to certain places? Fortunately for Ecuador, it was just recommended for a COVID vaccine. But if I had been going to the Amazon, I would have needed, I believe, a yellow fever vaccination. But I wasn't, so I really was good. I had already gotten my COVID booster anyway, so I really didn't need any shots, and I didn't need any documentation of that or anything like that. But then, yeah, they'll send you like all the like sort of health stuff. You can let them know if you have health issues that you'll be needing to monitor throughout the trip, stuff like that. And then yeah, I think it was about 2 months before the trip when they requested sort of the final balance. So you will have paid in full about 2 months before the trip. So, yeah, that was kind of the timeline of how I kind of first inquiry to actually, being on a plane and flying to Ecuador was about 6 months in advance. So that's what I would recommend. And also, if you're thinking about going to Ecuador, I will say, flight-wise, there's sort of two main hubs that connect to Quito, and that is Houston, and that is Miami. Of my group, I was the only one who connected from Houston. Everyone else flew to Miami, and everyone else had a complete nightmare, especially on the way down there. Just tons of, again, I'm not sure if it was the airline, I'm not sure if it was the Miami airport. I feel like I've never heard a good story come out of that Miami airport. So if you are coming from, especially if you're coming from like the western half of the US, I cannot recommend Houston as the connection. You do that. Trust me, you would not want to go through what a lot of the other people went through in Miami. So that is my recommendation on travel to get there. Just be aware most flights that come in from the US fly at night here and get into Quito kind of in overnight hours. That is pretty standard. So something to be aware of. And but yeah, that is all of the logistics, I think, out of the way. Cost, company, why, and all that. So let's get on to the next part. Okay, I did just want to talk a little bit about some of the lodges that we stayed at, sort of a review of the lodges that we stayed at throughout the trip. And also some of the food. Yeah, just kind of review all the food and at the hotels and everything. So the lodges that we stayed at were all really nice. The main lodge that we stayed at in Quito was great. And it was only about, 20-minute cab ride from the airport. And Jose Puembo was the Quito hotel that we kind of based out of when we first started. And yeah, it was great. I got there again in the middle of the night, and my room was really nice. There was nothing overly fancy about them. Like they're not like 5-star luxury hotels and lodges. If you're looking for that kind of thing, then yeah, this trip isn't for you. But the rooms were great. I mean, they were always clean. They always had a nice bathroom and showers, and yeah, it was great. But then once we actually got out of Quito into these lodges that we would stay at out in the cloud forest, man, they were so great. Like the luxury isn't that there's a hot tub in your room. The luxury is that out your window is like the cloud forest and the Andes Mountains. And yeah, they were really, really breathtaking. I'm going to post a couple of photos here of there was one room I stayed at it was I know in the photo it's not like a great view out because it was all cloudy, but when the clouds really cleared out, you're looking straight out into this incredible open. Just I felt like I was on the side of a cliff, and so it was really cool. It was great. So my hotels review is they were all perfectly good. The last lodge we stayed in was San Isidro. And I actually filmed a little quick room tour that I didn't put in any of the videos. And I thought it would be cool to show here on the behind the scenes just so you can see like what one of the lodges looked like. And again, this one was my favorite, so let's look at it here real quick. All right, well, kind of a sad moment. This is my last hotel room checkout, and I haven't really done any room tours here, but I thought I'd do one here because this place was pretty cool. So this is my little 1-bedroom room here. Bathroom's nice. But over here was really cool. I had my couch here that just looks out into the forest. And this is where I slept, all surrounded by the forest. It's pretty awesome. So anyways, this is my last checkout before I head home, which like I said, is kind of sad. At the same time, it's good. I am missing my puppy, so I'm ready to go get him. And yeah, get back to real life. But it's been a fun trip to be away from real life for about a week and a half. But yeah, so anyways, here is one of the rooms I stayed in. Really nice. So yeah, you can see it's pretty nice. And there was only one hotel that I was like, this place wasn't very good. And that was when we had, so in the videos, we had been at that one lodge, and I said, we had a long transit day back through Quito, and then it was that next day that we went and saw all of the stuff in the rain by the river, the Impossible 3. Sort of a little bit of YouTube magic in there was that we actually didn't drive all the way in one go. We actually did overnight in Quito and then went to the west. That little hotel that we stayed at in Quito, just as a transit, I mean, we were there literally just one night, and then we were gone early the next morning. It wasn't the best, but again, it was perfectly fine. And every other lodge that you stayed at when we were actually in the Andes was incredible. So yeah, review there, good. The food was awesome, and it was generally provided at all of the lodges, and all of the meals were included in the tour. And yeah, it was really good South American style food. It wasn't like they were bringing out burgers for the Americanos, no, the food was very true to Ecuador, and it was awesome. There you go. There's one funny story for you. So a lot of times we were out on the road early mornings before the restaurant was even open. So it's not like we could get breakfast at like 4 a.m. Because they weren't open yet. So what they would do is on the mornings that they knew we were going to be out super early, they would pack a bunch of like boxed breakfasts for us to take with us when we left. And then we would go out and bird. And then when we had a break, we would eat our boxed breakfasts, which were always really good. It was always like lots of granola and yogurt and lots of fruit and juice. And one morning, they packed us all with hard-boiled eggs. So we kind of opened them up, and we were like kind of picking the shell off. And, a lot of people weren't eating them. And our guide had noticed. He was like, "Oh, you guys don't like the breakfast?" And everyone's like, "No, it's not that. It's just hard-boiled eggs." And he's like, "Well, tell me what you guys want. Like, I can tell the people at the hotel to make something different." And and one guy said what we were all thinking. He was like, "Well, I mean, it would be great if they could just pack us like a bag full of like breakfast burritos, you know, like." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that'd be good." And our guide was like, breakfast burrito?" And we were like, oh my God, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what a breakfast burrito is. And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, "Oh, no, I got this, guys." So I jump in. I was like, "All right, eggs, green chili is like what makes a breakfast burrito. You gotta have good green chili, and then hash browns or potatoes, and then you throw in some ham or sausage or chorizo, and then some cheese, and you take it all and you wrap it in a tortilla. Breakfast burrito." And he was like, he's like, he's like, I don't really think that's gonna happen. We're like, "What?" I was like, "I can't believe we've never had a breakfast burrito." And he's like, "But hey, I'll ask, you know." And we were like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Oh man," he's never had like he looked at me as I described a breakfast burrito like I was nuts. So we bird the rest of the day, and we get back to the hotel, and we're eating dinner. And the lady who was cooking all the food was like bringing dinner around, and I just happened to be sitting next to our guide that night, and all of a sudden I remembered. I was like, oh, I was like, "Hey, you should ask about the breakfast burritos." And he was like, "Oh, yeah." And so he calls the lady over. He's like, "Oh, señorita." And then I couldn't understand Spanish, but I knew what he was describing out the breakfast burrito. And at the very end, he's like, "Then tortilla wrap to burrito." And I'm like, "There you go." And the lady was just, she just broke down laughing at our breakfast burritos. They were laughing at us. So anyway, yeah, she walked off and she was like, no. And I looked at him and I was like, "So I'm going to take that as a no on the breakfast burritos?" And he's like, "It's just not the thing that they do in Ecuador." I was like, "Okay." So anyways, we wanted some breakfast burritos, and yeah, that was a negative. But when I got back, I went and got a nice Santiago's spicy chorizo breakfast burrito, and I was like, "Whew, yeah, that's good stuff." But anyways, overall though, no, the food was really good. It was very healthy. Lots of chicken, which was always really good. Lots of plantains. Had empanadas a lot, which were always just, everything's very like home cooked. Like I did not feel like I was getting restaurant style food. Like I felt like I was getting really good home cooked meals. Fish was very popular, like sea bass and trout. One night we had a dinner where they were cooking just dinner. There wasn't like a choice. Like they were just bringing out the dinner. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm not a huge seafood guy, but I was like, "Yeah, as long as it's not seafood, then I'm good." And they brought out trout, and I was like, "Oh." And everyone's like, "Just eat it, you sissy." And I'm like, "Well, no, of course I'm going to." And yeah, it was great. So even the seafood, which I'm not a big fan of, I thought was really good. So yeah, I did not. We were driving through Quito, and I told one of the other people from our group I was sitting next to, I was like, "Man, you know what my favorite thing about Quito is going through this downtown?" I was like, "I don't see like a Walmart on every freaking corner, and there's not like a McDonald's, and like everything seems like mom and pop kind of shops." And literally within a block, we drove past the biggest Kentucky Fried Chicken I've ever seen in my life. It was like 3 stories tall, and at the top it had this gigantic gold-plated chicken. It was the Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I'm like, except for that place right there, I'm so glad that we don't see just fast food and Walmarts on every corner. But yeah, and overall, the meals were good. Nobody nobody ever got like sick from like the food or anything like that. Yeah, so that was all really, really good, and it was nice that it was all kind of included in the price of the tour, so you just never really had to think about it, and that was nice. So yeah, food and lodges, definitely thumbs up for me. Okay, I did just want to talk really briefly, this will be pretty short, about sort of the makeup of the group. Who were these other people that were there, and did you guys all get along, and how was it? And of course the answer is yeah, it was great. Everyone was awesome. I was the youngest. I was hoping maybe there would be someone else, kind of my age, but nope, I was the young buck. So actually that made me feel pretty good. But yeah, no, the rest of the group was awesome. Coincidentally, 4 of us were from Colorado. Myself here from Inglewood, another guy from Golden, who I just have been texting with recently about a bird that's over by him. And then there was another couple from Grand Junction. So again, that was just coincidentally. And then there was a couple from Portland, Oregon, and then there were 2 other people from Northern California. And everyone was great. We all got along just fine. So of the 8 of us, 6 of us were like pretty into the photography part. And that's important because, this trip isn't really, or this tour isn't like a photography trip. It's a birding trip. And I think just as bird photography and wildlife photography in general has had like a really big kind of boom lately, that there's going to be a lot of photographers on these trips. That actually made me feel better. A lot of times when I go out for like, local groups here, it's like me and maybe another person who is a photographer in the group, or sometimes I'm the only one. And on this, I worry a little bit because I don't want to be the one photographer who's always like trying to get shots, and I'm like, holding the group up from moving on to the next thing. And of course I don't want to be that guy. So it was great to see that everyone else had big rippers. We all had big cameras and lenses, and we all were trying to get shots, and we were all sharing, back and forth, like, oh, you should try this setting, and again, I was like kind of the only video guy there, and I even was like, oh, you guys should really kind of start looking into some video stuff with your cameras, like they all shoot great video too. And so that part of it was really fun to be with a bunch of other photographers. Our makeup I would say of the 6 people who had like good cameras, there were 3 Sony shooters, there were 2 Canon shooters, and 1 Nikon. And even the 2 other people who weren't like photographers, they still had like pretty decent like point and shoot sort of bridge cameras. So all 8 of us were taking photos, and I think our guide did a really good job of sort of saying like, okay, all these guys like photos, let's make sure we're getting in good position for good photos. So to Lalise, who I think really kind of adjusted to sort of the needs of the majority of the group, thank you so much. Like, he would always call out and be like, oh, great photo right here, make your pictures. So we're like, oh yeah, nice. So but yeah, the group was great, and we all got along, and yeah, there was no, I don't think really any sort of tension, or nobody, like everything was just really great for the chunk that I was there. So that was good. All right, another funny story time coming up here. So sort of the way the days would play out is you would be out all day birding. It was pretty much nonstop. There were most days we were on the road by 5 or 6 a.m. And so you're out birding all day, and then you would get back to the lodge or wherever we were staying, usually by about 5. And then by 6 o'clock, every night we would do checklist. So we would bring our checklist down, and we would all meet before dinner, and we would go through the checklist and just mark everything off that we saw for the day. And that was also sort of a tradition that we kind of started on the tour where at 6 while we were checklisting, that's when we would all drink beer. It's like, oh, it's beer time. And so we would all get beer, and then we would go through the checklist, and then at 6:30 would be dinner. So it was the day before we went to go see the Umbrella Bird. So the Umbrella Bird was, I mentioned it in the video, was our earliest wake up. We were on the road by 4 a.m. So that night before, we were going to checklist and then eat dinner, and then everyone was going to try to get to bed early since we had to be up so early the next day. So me and a couple of the guys were down getting our beer for checklist, and the guide, Lilise, came down and was like, oh, hang out here. I've got to get the rest of the group. We've got to go over something for tomorrow morning. And we were like, oh, okay. Hope everything is good. So he got everyone else gathered up, and we were kind of down in the little bar area at the lodge, and he said, okay, we've got good news and bad news. The good news is the area where we're going to see the Umbrella Bird, it has been raining there non-stop for the past 3 days. The good news is tomorrow when we go there, it will not be raining. And we were like, oh, sweet. And he's like, but because it has been raining nonstop, the trails, so once you get to the location, it was about an hour hike up to where the Umbrella Birds were. So he's like, yeah, the trails are completely mud, waterlogged. There is a little stream crossing, but now that's up higher than normal. So your guys' normal just kind of hiking boots and stuff, that's not going to work. We need to get you guys those tall, rubber, boots. And of course, all of us were like, well, none of us brought that. And he's like, well, no, of course. Wouldn't have expected you to have brought that. The hotel here has a bunch of them that they're going to let us use. So before we go to checklist, I need everyone to go down to the equipment area, and everyone's going to get fitted for these big, tall rubber boots. And we were like, oh, yeah, sweet, no problem at all. So I go down there, I get fitted for my boots, I'm good to go. Everyone gets fitted, and he was like, okay, everyone go throw your boots in your room, then let's go checklist and do dinner. So I was like, great. So I went back to my room and threw my boots in there, and was just walking right back towards dinner. And all of our rooms were on kind of the main floor, and then the restaurant was down, the floor below. So you had to walk down this sort of staircase that kind of curves around. It was very cool. It was a cool lodge. But at the corner of the staircase, the stairs get really skinny and they get wider as you go out, and that's where you're supposed to walk. So I was walking down the stairs, and someone from the group was behind me, and they said something like, oh, I can't believe we saw blah, blah, blah. And I turned around, and I was like, yeah. And as I was turning around, I took another step, and my left foot hit one of the really skinny stairs and just completely folded. And I just fell with all of my weight on my ankle that I had just rolled on the stair, and I fell and then bounced down the rest of the stairs, and everyone was like, oh my God, are you okay? And I bounced right up, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm just so embarrassed, and my ankle is killing me. It hurt really bad, but I'm up, and again, I'm tough, everyone, are you sure you're okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Doesn't even hurt, It really hurt. So I hobble over to the dinner table, and we eat dinner. And as we're eating, the pain in my ankle goes away, and I'm like, yeah, see, I'm fine. But then once we were done eating, and I actually put weight on my leg again as I was going back up the stairs, I was like, yeah, actually my ankle, it's still a little sore, but not horrible. So I go back to the room. Again, everyone's going to bed early because we've got to get up. And I was on my computer doing something. And then I was like, oh, I've got to go to bed. So I finally took my shoes and socks off. And that is when I saw my ankle. And it was the size. I was like, oh no, this is not good. I was like, oh man. I've never really sprained my ankle like that before in my life. I've never really had like an ankle injury. And I play tennis. I can't believe I haven't like rolled my ankle before, or at least not to this extent. So when I saw my ankle, I freaked out. I was like, "Oh my god, we are gonna have to go to the hospital. They're gonna amputate my foot off in the middle of the night. Like this is terrible." So I I thought the worst. I was like, "Yep, broken ankle." And of course, I'm like, "There's no way I'm gonna be able to get this rubber boot over my ankle for tomorrow." That's what I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking, "Oh, hey, I need medical attention." I'm worried about how I'm going to be able to go see the umbrella bird. So I try to put the rubber boot on right there. And of course, it's so swollen that it won't fit. So I'm like, "Oh man, well, I guess I better go tell the guide, just see what's going on." Or like, just want to, I'm just like freaked out. So I go back downstairs, and the guide was still at the table where we were eating dinner, and I was like, "Yeah, hi, Lilise, we got a problem." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you want to take a look at my ankle?" And he's like, "Whoa!" He's like, "Wait, is that from when you fell downstairs?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Well, are you like in agonizing pain?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I mean, it's a little sore, but it really doesn't hurt that bad." And I'm like, "But I mean, look at it. It's like all messed up." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, I'll just say, I think that if the ankle were broken, like you would not have been able to walk down the stairs to like come and talk to me. And I think you would be in agonizing pain." He's like, "So I'm just putting it out there that I don't think it's broken." And I'm like, "Yeah, I agree with that." And he's like, and I'm like, "Well, I'm really worried because I'm not going to be able to go to the umbrella bird tomorrow." And like, again, that was my main concern. I'm like, "Dude, I've got a YouTube episode to film tomorrow. Like, I can't miss this." So he's like, "Okay, well, first off, do you want to go to the hospital and go see a doctor?" He's like, "I think you've just sprained it." He's like, "But if you want to go to the hospital, keep in mind, we're about 2 hours away from Quito." And I was not worried. I was not that concerned. I was like, "Oh, no. I definitely don't want to do that." He's like, "Well, first off, have you taken like ibuprofen?" And I had brought Advil with me, so I had already popped that down the hatch. And he's like, "Okay, well, let's get some ice on it. And then tonight, if you can sleep and try to keep that leg elevated, let's take a look at it again in the morning and just see what it looks like." And I was like, "Yeah, I think that's a good plan." So we got some ice, and then that night I slept and kept it elevated. And fortunately, when I woke up the next morning, the swelling had gone way down. And so I was able to obviously still get my rubber boots on, and I was able to still go see the umbrella bird. But that whole day, that hike in the mud and across all the rivers, I was doing that on like a 20% ankle, and wearing these big, tall, floppy rubber boots that had like no support at all. So I was being very careful, because the last thing I would have wanted to do that day is then roll my ankle again, because then I would have been like, "All right, take me to the hospital. I'm done." But anyway, so that is the story of how I fell down the stairs, freaked out, thought I was going to have to go to the hospital, but still overcame and went and saw the umbrella bird. All right, last little part here. I did just want to talk about some gear that I took. I had mentioned before the trip that I was going to post a gear video. I shot a gear video of all the things I was taking to Ecuador, and then I just ended up thinking that it was actually a pretty lame video, so I just never posted it. But I did just want to talk quickly about some of the stuff that I took, and I felt like I really overpacked gear-wise. So this is what I used for 99.9% of the trip. All the photos, all the video was shot on this. This is my A1, original A1, not the new one, and this Sigma 500 millimeter prime lens. I brought other stuff with me. I brought a backup body. I brought my A7C, just in case something happened to this. I brought my Tamron 50-400 lens, because I thought, well, it might be good to have another camera with a wider lens on it that I could just switch to real quick and take some wider angle shots. That camera and that lens never came out of my bag. So I feel like I brought a bunch of stuff. Mostly, I brought it thinking that I was going to use it, but really it ended up just kind of being there in case something happened to this. There was that day down by the river where we were in pouring rain, and I don't have any like rain. Like everyone had all these like rain bags and rain stuff they were putting on their camera, and I was like, nah, I'm good, man. I have shot this thing in the middle of blizzards. I have shot owls where there's literally inches of snow piling up on top of it, and I have never had a problem. These cameras are really built for that kind of condition, and oh man, I was so proud. I got back to the lodge and it was just dripping in rain and water. And yeah, I dried it off, and I never had a single problem with it. And I was like, oh, you little mule. I love this camera, and it did great in all of the bad conditions that day. And yeah, so gear-wise, as far as like clothing wise, I really packed lean. I did not bring like a checked suitcase. I brought my camera bag, which had all my camera stuff in it, and then I brought a carry-on, which I had packed like 5-6 days worth of clothes. And then I just thought halfway through one night at one of the hotels, I would just do some laundry, and didn't have clothes for the rest of the trip. And yeah, that's one thing that I did not plan well. Because I had assumed each hotel just has like a little laundry room. So one night, yeah, I'll just go down there, pop some quarters in, and just do some laundry. No, it does not work like that. You can get laundry done at a hotel, but you have to give them the clothes, and then they will do it the next day, and then it was like the next day after you would get it back. So it's not something that you just run down and do one night for like 45 minutes. So I was like, okay. So a couple sets of clothes were a double wear to get through the trip, because again, I thought I was going to be able to just go do laundry whenever I wanted. So that was not true. But everything ended up being fine. There was one of the couple from Grand Junction brought a lot of gear. They had just all sorts of different jackets, and for just any condition, they had gloves and boots and different kinds of boots and pants and like all this stuff. And I was like, oh no, I have really underpacked, because I just had like a normal rain jacket, and fortunately I was fine. And they had said, they're like, oh yeah, no, we probably have overpacked, but we just want to be prepared for any condition, because they had been on some of these other tours where the rain is really bad, and they're just like, yeah, we're not gonna get caught out again like we have before. And I was like, oh, that's totally understandable. But fortunately for me, I got by just fine with my rain jacket. I had brought a heavier like fleece jacket too. There was one morning where I doubled those up for like a little bit of layers, because I needed it. And then I brought like a couple of sweatshirts, but overall it was mostly just regular hiking pants, and like I brought just like long sleeve shirts everything was great. I never felt uncomfortable. So yeah, packing wise, I think I did, even though I packed a little leaner maybe than I should, everything ended up working good. And camera wise, everything was good. Like I said, everything was on the A1 500, and then my little pocket, DJI Pocket 3, which is recording this right now. And yeah, everything was good to go there. So yeah, gear wise, all good. This will be, again, another short segment because I don't have many complaints, but I did just want to offer a little bit of, things that maybe I wish were a little different, or a little bit of constructive criticism on the tour, because everything was really good. So again, these are nitpick sort of things. So first off, one thing that was kind of annoying, I had mentioned in the very first part, when they will start emailing you to start sending in like a deposit for the trip to kind of lock yourself in. That is all done through the mail. So they want you to actually write a check for the deposit and then mail it off, which is, wow. I was like, I don't even know if I have a checkbook anymore. So after digging, I found I did have a checkbook. But the other problem was I did not have any stamps because I haven't mailed a letter since probably like, I don't know, 98. So I then had to go to the grocery store and buy stamps. So I got home and I'm like, okay, I can mail off my deposit check. So I wrote the check, put the stamp on the envelope, and then when I licked the envelopes were so old that the adhesive didn't work on the envelope. So I then had to go back to the store again and buy new envelopes just to get this check mailed off. So, Pib, I really wish you had an online payment portal so people don't have to mail in deposits through the mail. So that would be one thing I hope they could change at some point. Like I said, it's so funny in like a checkbook, it has like copies of the checks. So I had looked to see when the last check I wrote was, and it was 2018. So, I didn't even remember that. So anyways, that would be one thing I wish they could change, is to make an online payment portal so that we're not mailing checks. Didn't like that. Also, I really liked getting the binder here with all the stuff in it. That was good. I like having a physical thing to hold. And again, it's cool I will look back and see, oh yeah, that trip. It'd be awesome if you could also send a digital version of this guide, like a PDF, because I would have just put that on my iPad, and then every night for checklist, I could have just done it like on my iPad. I don't need the physical thing. Or it would just be nice to have a digital version also with the binder. So that'd be a recommendation. Again, these are really nitpicky things. I guess one other thing, and again, this will be personal preference. Other people may not agree with this at all. So like I had mentioned in one of the other parts that it's pretty much nonstop. You are birding from sunrise to sunset, and I like that. Although it would be nice, my recommendation would be that maybe like halfway through the trip, man, I was worn out. And like I said, I was the young one of the group. But man, you're just getting up at like 4 a.m. every single day and then just going nonstop. I really wish maybe like halfway through, there was sort of like a down day, or maybe a day where you can go out with the guide and it's like a really chill like excursion. So if you still want to make sure you're birding every single day, you could still go out that day. But if you wanted to just have a day to maybe catch up on some sleep or just relax a little bit, you can. And the excursion that they're going on that day, on the down day, is something that's really chill. So you're not going to be missing anything crazy. I wish there was maybe a little bit more downtime, that you could just, like I said, it would be nice to have a day where you could catch up on some sleep, or just get away from everyone in the group for an afternoon, just something like that. But again, I could see other people being like, well, I'm paying to come bird. I'm not paying to have downtime. So I could totally see why someone else may not want that. But for me, I would have liked having like or maybe just a half a day where you could just go take a nap and just catch up on some sleep and just kind of chill for a little bit, because the downtime it's very minimal on this tour. And again, so I guess that I would also say to someone who were thinking about this, if you thought that like, well, you go out and do birding, but then you've got time to go off and kind of do your own thing, or that's not this tour at all. Everything is very guided and planned out, and all of the time is accounted for. And there's very little downtime, to yourself. So that's something to be aware of, and that's something, again, that's personal preference to me. I wish maybe we had a little bit more downtime, but I can see how other people wouldn't want that, because they would think that's then wasted time where they're not birding. So again, personal preference for me. But those are my, I guess, constructive criticisms. But overall, it was so good. The positives are 2,000 to 1 versus the negatives. Lilise, the guide, I can't stress how good he was. And again, I had shown in the video with them at the end where, he literally wrote the handbook on Ecuador birding, and to have him as our guide, it's just invaluable. He was so good and always made sure that we were on seeing birds. Of course, we had times where, people were like half the group was seeing it and the other half was like, wait, where? Oh, it's in the tree. Like he was always like making sure that everyone saw the bird. He always made sure. Here was an interesting comparison of our group versus others. So we were one location. It was at Refugio, where we were seeing all the Ampida. There was another birding group there that day too, and of course we overlapped each other a lot. And here was a difference I saw from Lilise versus the other guide. We were at the hummingbird feeders, and our guide was pointing out like, oh, this is this species, this species, this species. And the other guide and his group were there too. And the other guide had his own camera, and he was up front taking pictures, and our guide would never have done that. He always made sure that we were the ones up front taking pictures and getting the good stuff. Where that guide, I felt like he was guiding, but he was also there kind of for himself a little bit, and I did not like that. And I noticed stuff like that. So Lilise, thank you for never being that guy and making sure that we were the ones who were seeing the birds. So again, everything about this trip was great, other than those just minor, like I said, constructive criticism. And if you're thinking about doing this tour or doing a tour with Pip, I highly recommend. My trip was great. Like I said, I didn't have any travel problems. We went to all the places that was on the website, so nothing was false advertised. I felt like all of the places that we went to see these birds, they always came through. And so I don't know if in that regard, maybe we were just super lucky. But overall, it was such an incredible trip, an awesome experience, and being on this tour was amazing, and it really delivered for me. So I cannot recommend enough Pib and this Ecuador tour. All right, well, there you have it. That's my review and sort of kind of behind the scenes on the whole trip. Like I said there at the end, it was incredible. I highly recommend. And a few questions that I kind of forgot to address in the video. First off, how many species did I see? And can you give us like your list? Yes, I saw 354 species. In the description, I have a trip report for eBird of all of my lists from the trip. So go ahead and check that out, and you can see all 354 species. And coming up later this week, look for the video about the prints and the giveaway for 1K, which again is incredible. I can't thank everyone enough who have come on board here during the Ecuador trip. And all of the great feedback and the comments and everything has been so good on these videos, so I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. And we will see you coming up here in the next video. I'm out next weekend for a big raptor project, so look for that coming soon. It's going to be good. So anyways, I will see you later. Thanks. Bye.